What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Ever Adaptive Podcast. I am your host, Sarah Budson, along with my co-host here, Beckie Flowers, and we have another face, another guest. It's been a while since we've had a guest on here, but a very good friend of mine, Brady King, even though his screen says Carly.
I'm
He's
Carly
Carly
today.
today.
Brady. Brady has been a good friend of mine ever since we met at my first show in 2021, and you've had a ton of success ever since. I mean, before, after, everything in between, you've kind of been through the ringer. So we wanted to get you on and just kind of pick your brain and talk about whatever you want. So we really just kind of like to open up the floor and just I don't know, give your elevator spiel and then just kind of roll into whatever you feel like from there.
Cool. So I guess I'll just start from well, because I mean, you guys probably have a lot of Michigan listeners, so
Beckie's in Illinois.
Yeah,
are
I'm
you? Okay.
Illinois.
That same whole that same area that Midwest specifically consider. That doesn't make any sense. Does that make any sense to you why it's the Midwest?
No, it
It's not
doesn't.
West. Anyway.
That is true.
It drives me absolutely insane. But anyways, so yeah, that whole region though, I feel like if you follow me from there or have heard of me from there, it all kind of started back with the car accident. But so that goes back to 2017. I did wasn't my first show, but I was my first real year competing, gone to the NPC, got a real coach, did the Pittsburgh, and won my class, lost the overall there to Shane Post, and then did the collegiate nationals. And I got second to Stephen Metropolis. And that was my first taste of the game. And then I found this place in Michigan called Grand Rapids. There was a girl who brought me there, but I found this gym called Maximus Fitness. And I fell in love, and that was kind of where I really decided, all right, you know what? I'm wasting my time at college. I don't really want a degree. I didn't want to
Where were
drop.
you going to college?
Bethany College. It was a tiny little D3 school in the middle of West Virginia in the mountains.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we had 600 total students.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, yeah.
Did you grow up in West Virginia or?
I grew up in Western Pennsylvania,
Okay.
near 45 minutes southwest of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So pretty much almost West Virginia, but we're a little bit more high class, but still dirt. No offense to everyone from West Virginia, you're not dirt, because I'm dirt too. We're all dirt.
We don't worry about offending people on here. It's fine.
No, let's just speak your mind.
But yeah, so it was actually the perfect little college for me though, because I deal with a lot of shit mentally. I grew up with a lot of shit, and I just didn't really know how to handle myself as a young adult when I was 18. And it was this secluded little place in the middle of fucking nowhere where you really couldn't get in trouble. You had to really go looking for it to find yourself in any trouble. So all I really had to do was literally just completely focus on bodybuilding. Should have focused on school a little bit more, but whatever, it is what it is. But it was an amazing place for me, because it just it put me in this robotic, you know what I mean, lifestyle of bodybuilding before it was really what it is now, or really a competitive thing. It was just what there was to do, that and get high. You know what I mean? If there was nothing else, 30 minutes to a Walmart or a Sheetz or anything, a liquor store, there was nothing, middle of nowhere. But so then I found Maximus and decided psychology just isn't going to be it. Don't know what the hell I'm going to do with that degree. I literally was a psych major because of my own mental issues, and I just wanted to figure them out.
I
Again,
have that degree too because of that. I get that.
I feel like everybody, if you go into psychology, it is because of somebody that was very close to you that perhaps had a bigger mental illness, or not that there's, one that's bigger than the other, but, something that's a little bit more life altering, that makes you really have to hyperfixate on mental illness as a whole. Or you have it.
Yeah.
For me, it was everybody in my family plus me. But yeah, no, I loved it. I really did, all the way up until my senior year when I became 400 level classes that were all applied psychology. That's where I realized I don't want to apply this anymore. I did spend a lot of time. I wasn't going to graduate on time because I spent a lot of my classes and credits on science classes, that I didn't need because I wanted to learn stuff in bodybuilding. So I would take extra biology classes, anatomy classes, a little bit of chem, biochem. Like I would just take stuff to just try to understand science more, to understand bodybuilding more. Those were really the only times I paid attention. Those in psych classes. Any other like gen ed classes I didn't go to. But yeah, so I decided that there was just no degree for me that I really wanted. So said, fuck it, let's just chase bodybuilding and nothing else. I mean, this is all I want. This is all I've ever cared about. I was told in high school from my guidance counselor, never make money lifting weights. And like, that always kind of stuck with me. I'm like, I'll find a way. You watch, bitch. Like you just,
Yeah, like eat shit, bro.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Ah, negative humans from small towns. It blows my mind. But yeah, so decided to pack my car and move up to Grand Rapids. I actually slept in my car, and had a little stint of like hanging out in the posing room for a little while, and then it was the first 2 nights. It was an attempt in my car, and then my girlfriend at the time snuck me into her parents' house. And then the next night was I was going to sleep in the posing room, and I was in there for a while, and then again she snuck me into her parents' house. And then we ended up finding somebody to let us live with them. A good friend of mine up there, Matt. And that was kind of like where everything started. I started getting, random little jobs, GNC, security, working the front desk at the gym, just trying to make money to get by just to focus on bodybuilding. And at some point in that first like 9 months of being there, my name started to kind of get some traction within the bodybuilding community, not just in Michigan, but as a whole. And was end of May, I think. I was a week out from the Grand Rapids, 3 weeks out from Junior Nationals. Talked a lot of shit to Brett Wilkins because me and him were going to be competing against each other. And I ran my mouth so much. He kept quiet because it's Brett. He's not going to talk shit. He doesn't talk shit. Ivana, I'm sure did, but not publicly. But he did end up winning that show. But so that whole prep was like kind of like where my name started to build. And there was nothing special. I was just a 21-year-old kid with a cool physique who got really lean. I wasn't that big yet, but like would have ended up in a top 2 in any national show at that time. A week out from the Grand Rapids, it was a Sunday. I was late to work, driving home from fasted cardio to get my meals and go to work. And a car pulled out in front of me, and I was speeding a little bit. It was going about 10 miles an hour above the speed limit. They pulled out in front of me. It was an elderly couple. The driver just couldn't react. Ended up hitting their front side with my front side, and then I slid to the curb and flipped. Ended up breaking my left tibia and fibula, and had open tib fib, so it came out of the skin nicely for me. And my right hip was shattered, and my femur actually like went through it. Like, did you ever watch SpongeBob whenever he broke his butt? Like when his femurs go through his butt. That's like literally what happened to me.
Oh my gosh.
So I had my right like knee stuck up like this, like I couldn't push it down because it was up and jammed into my hip. So I just grabbed my other leg. First, I tried to stand up. I tried to fix it and then stand up. Shock.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of grabbed it and just tried to stop the bleeding, whatever. They told me that I would never train the same, that like pretty much like bodybuilding's done. I need to not think about it. And I kind of laughed and was like, I'm literally going to get out of here and do a show immediately. And I did that. I got out. I was in a wheelchair for 12 weeks, I think. 8 weeks, 12 weeks, can't remember. Then I was cleared to weight bear on my left leg, which is the tibia and fibula leg. If anybody knows anything about an open tib fib, there's probably no pain besides like a femur that is worse to heal from. So I couldn't walk on it. So I walked on my hip instead. The one that I wasn't allowed to the weight bear on. Having a walker for 12 weeks. But because I was already walking on the right leg, I was able to kind of not like speed up the healing, but like get everything to almost balance a little bit more and like have my legs under me a little faster than I probably should have. And thankfully it didn't mess anything up in the healing process. My left, it's actually funny, my leg that I was allowed to weight bear on is still fucked up. I don't think it ever healed, honestly. There's a rod in there, so like it can't break, but it swells up all the time and like it's a mess. It's hurts all the time. It's a mess. But
no, you were 21 at this time, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then that took you 6 months to get to a point where you could actually walk on your own, or
yeah, I mean, so I guess the timeline, I think it was like 4.5, 5 months. But yeah, in that ballpark. That was May, June, July, August. Yeah, it was sometime like mid to end September that I started prep because I was able to walk again. I started prep actually when I was in the walker still in August for the Western, which is November.
oh my gosh.
It was an interesting decision. I needed to do it mentally. But obviously my legs were entirely atrophied. They were sticks, there was nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And I actually ended up winning my class because that was probably the most peeled I've ever been, and probably will never touch that conditioning again. It was because we didn't have to worry about muscle wasting. Like we didn't have to worry about legs. It was just like fucking rip it down. Like we almost wanted to lose size up top because we were like, this is so unbalanced. Like
Right.
So yeah, ended up winning my class, lost the overall. And
Really quick, I want to interrupt you. You still went to the Grand Rapids that year, right?
I did actually. So I wasn't allowed to because obviously I was still in the hospital. At this time, I was now at a care facility for the physical therapy care, whatever, I don't know what it's called. I was only supposed to be there. I was supposed to be there for like the whole month. But my girlfriend at the time was a nurse, and she was a strong lady. So she could hold her own, she could pick me up and, you know what I mean, like kind of help me maneuver myself around pretty easily. So it wasn't like a huge deal. So we kind of learned everything really fast. And the day of the show, wasn't allowed to leave. We snuck out. She broke me out of the hospital and we went to the GR, actually handed out the overall trophy for classic physique.
That's awesome. All right, sorry, continue.
Well, it was actually funny. So we didn't break out not just once. We got back that night. Nobody said a thing. The nurses that they were kind of homies. You know what I mean? Like they're like, all right, whatever. The next day, the Guy, Sister Nino, and Derek Lunsford were doing a seminar at Maximus. I didn't know these cats yet. Like I didn't know anybody in the industry yet. I wanted to go kick it with these guys. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, we broke out again the next morning and went to the seminar. That time when we got back, they were pissed because I missed all of my PTOT, like, you know, all the stuff, missed everything. Got back and they were like, they did like I remember they did another psych eval first.
Is he crazy?
Literally, like, what is wrong
Do
with
we
this
need
guy?
restraints?
Is he suicidal? Like, why is he breaking out of here? Yeah. So they did like a psych eval, and like they all kind of grilled me. And then finally, at some point, one of the doctors was just like, "Do you just want to go home?" And I was like, "Can I?" She was like, "Sure. We'll send you home tomorrow." I was like, "Thank you." Like, why was it this difficult?
That
Like,
was easy.
Yeah.
And like I understand, you know, typically if somebody is, you know, non-weight bearing on both legs, you can't really let them out of the hospital for like 4 or 6 weeks. But like we had a different scenario. Like You know what I mean? Like, let me out. Let me go home.
Right.
We went straight to
So
the gym. Go
you
ahead.
ended up winning that show that you started prep for.
One in my class last year overall, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was lifting in the wheelchair too. I literally went directly to the gym and trained in the wheelchair, trained every day. There's nothing I had to, like, I was gonna go fucking nuts if I didn't. Um, it was an interesting time being on all of the fun pain meds
Oh, I bet.
whilst taking pre-workout and trying to train. I
Wow.
mean, I was in another world every day. But you would catch my ass outside the gym, wheeling around the gym, trying to do laps, just trying. I was like, yeah, I need to do cardio. I'm getting fat.
Oh my gosh. So you won that show, and then where did you go after that?
So after that, this is where it gets a little dark. And this is actually something I don't think I've really ever spoken publicly about. I just never felt that it was worth it to touch on. But in this case, I don't know, I feel like it's been long enough, and I feel like it is something I do want to speak on. Frankly, it was out of respect for the family that I never really spoke prior to this. Um, but at this point, I do hope that they can see who I am now, and maybe be a little more accepting of things. But so during that prep, actually, I got charged with reckless driving causing death. Somebody in the other car, she was 89. She broke like a rib, a clavicle, a couple of bones. She went in the hospital, ended up getting pneumonia, and then passed away, I think the next day. So I ended up getting charged with originally reckless driving causing death because they didn't have an actual set speed of how fast I was going yet. But yeah. So the whole time I was also facing a felony. It was a scary time. Um, then after that show, the show kind of kept me up for a long time. And then after that show, it was kind of like the rebound was fun. And then like Christmas came. And then like after Christmas and stuff, it started to kind of like that winter depression started hitting, like the reality of the situation really started to set in. And my I ended up taking or I ended up, I guess it was technically taking a plea to motion violation causing death, to determine my speed was 10 miles an hour over. Um, and in Michigan, basically, if you're speeding at all, you give up the right of way. So whether they pulled out or not, I was speeding, so I didn't have the right of way, so you get the motion violation causing death.
Right.
So sentencing was in May, about a year, almost to the day after the accident. And I ended up getting sentenced to 120 days in jail. And so went straight from court straight to jail. And it was a very interesting time in my life, to say the least. Um, and to kind of backtrack, just to kind of the person that I was, not that the car accident specifically do I think was necessarily this like crazy bad thing, right? Like I was speeding, I was late to work. It was 9 a.m., 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't just ripping down the highway in a fast car just because, you know what I mean? I was just late to work, just trying to get there. Um, Something everybody does. But the person that I was being in every aspect before that was shitty, negative, was cocky. Excuse me. Was just very not a good person, not somebody that I was proud of, not somebody I'll ever be proud of. But it was a reality of who I was. I let things get to my head when my name started to blow up, um, and just being, you know, good at a young age. And I didn't really know I was like that good yet, but like I knew I was, good, and I definitely got cocky about it. My relationship at the time was very toxic. It wasn't good. Um, Nothing bad to the person. She's a good human being. I'm a good human being. Sometimes people just don't mesh, and we just didn't mesh, and we kept trying to make it work. And sometimes when you do that, I mean,
It's worse. Yeah.
it causes a damn fire everywhere. Everything catches on fire around you, and
Yep.
that's pretty much where it was at. Um, and I hated who I was. I said a lot of things that I regret after that accident as well. Um, it was a shitty time to be in my brain. Um, and I think that like the accident woke me up a lot for sure, but like I really was just trying to stay focused, but just in a more positive manner. Does
Mhm.
that make sense?
Mhm.
I was also trying to live for the woman who passed away. It was definitely like in my heart every day of like how I was acting and stuff. It definitely impacted me pretty massively at that time, but not anywhere near to the degree of when I went to jail. Because when I went to jail, I'll be very honest, I didn't feel like I should have. You know what I mean? I didn't have any priors. There was no crazy mitigating circumstances. I wasn't high, I wasn't drunk. Like I was
Right.
going to work, so I did feel some type of way about it initially. Um, and I just kept thinking, like, I don't belong here. Like, why am I here? I don't belong in this fucking place with these fucking people. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, very soon, within days of being in there, it started to hit me of like, oh no, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Like, this is exactly where God wanted you to be. You have to be in here
Mhm.
because you are the only person who can connect with these people and be somebody they look up to. Because first of all, like there's guys in jail, like they don't look up to people they look up to. You know what I mean? And like if there is somebody who is doing well in life, why would they look up to them? But
Mhm.
then there's this big dude comes in a little swaggy, talking shit. Like now they're like, oh, there's this white boy. You know what I mean? Like, like everyone, and then like they talk to me. They're like, oh, this dude's pretty fucking cool. Like has a lot of like good things to say. And the next thing you know, like I'm in a pod talking to dudes' moms, like trying to like speak life into their families and like helping people get GEDs and you know what I
That's
mean? Like helping
crazy.
people like get out and like start businesses and like actually like and a lot of them like I don't really know. I haven't got a lot of them in the last year or two, but for a while there, like there was quite a few of them guys that they were quite a few years removed. They had gotten off parole or their probation or whatever they were on. Because that's the thing, the way the system keeps you in is they keep you on probation and parole. And if you even get pulled over in the car with somebody that has like a felony or something, you're
Yeah.
doing
Mhm.
however much time they can give you. Like, so it's, and that's the thing. Like, it's a matter of just deciding to walk it down. You know what I mean? And it really is. It's a matter of deciding like you're not going to hang out with the same people anymore because that's what's going to get you put
Yeah.
back in jail, literally just from hanging out with them. And that's what a lot of these cats don't understand. They're like, well, these are my friends. Your friends got you here in the first place.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like your friends are the reason you've been in here 7 times and you're 20 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stop hanging out with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of them that I really do feel like I was able to touch and help. And a lot of times we connected on stupid shit like dogs and like you know what I mean? Because like I had like pictures of my girlfriend at the time got a puppy. Um Eddie, he was a little pit bull husky, and I got a picture of it in my bunk. And people would see that and we weren't really allowed to have them, but as long as the COs didn't see them. But like people would come over like to like the bunk and see him and stuff and would just start conversation and like even in life, I've always said I'm always most connected to people who I connect with because of dogs. And that's how it was in there too. But yeah, it was a very interesting time, but I found purpose in it very fast.
That's
And
good. That's awesome that you could kind of flip that and that mindset switch of you're like, I don't fucking belong here, right? And then you're like, no, like I was placed here for a reason. And like do your, do what you're supposed to do or what you feel, you were there for while
Mhm.
you're there and actually impact people in a positive light. Like that's awesome.
yeah, and even if, like I said, even if it doesn't end up sticking, like the problem with the system, a lot of these guys end up going back at some point.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have addiction issues, and like, I mean, it's a whole different world. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It really is. It's an entirely different world than what we all kind of live in. And it's almost like I feel like I didn't grow up in a nice area. You know what I mean? I grew up in a heroin town. So like I've seen addiction, I've seen crime, I've seen, you know what I mean, all the hood shit. But like until you're really put in an environment like that, you don't see what kind of a bubble sometimes we can really live in.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like you got dudes like that are telling me like their mom would literally like drop meth pipes on them. You know what I mean? Like when they were babies, and like they were addicted since they were literally children, and like the first time they ever like did any kind of drug, they were 8 years old, and like addicted to meth or pills by 10, and like you're just like, what, bro? Like,
Yeah, and it's all consolidated in one area when you're in, so it's just like I'm sure it's super eye-opening.
yeah. So I mean, I just, it helped me, be able to see too, like who I don't want to be and who I can't be, who I can't let
Mhm.
myself be, because I don't come from a great area. I don't come from a great place. Like that should be me. That should be my life. You know what I mean? It wasn't because I made that decision myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like growing up, I just kind of stayed out of the shit and like hung out with a different crowd than what I was growing up around.
Mhm.
For no other reason other than the fact I just didn't like the people. Like they were just assholes. Like it wasn't the fact that like I didn't want to do drugs. Like no, I was doing drugs on my own. Like you know what I
Well,
mean?
that's a blessing. Like there's
I
a
wanted to
reason for
do
that.
I wanted to do it with friends, and I just felt like we're better people.
Yeah. So when
Right.
you ended up getting out, what was that transformation like? Because you went in as this one human, and now like you had that little bit of transformation that year that you were facing all of that, but then you have this like complete 180. What was that
So it
like?
was coming out was kind of was difficult, to be honest with you. So like working was difficult, because like I didn't have any of the same jobs, so I had to like I was able to get one of them back, one of my security jobs. But I hadn't worked there in over a year because I had the leg issues too. Excuse me. But I stopped training people at the gym. Um, didn't work at that gym anymore. Didn't work at GNC anymore. Um, at that point, it was just kind of figuring life out, trying to like do online coaching and like just you know what I mean. Was struggling. So it was just kind of tough right away. But eventually, like coaching and stuff got traction. I did picked up a lot more like hours working security, and I got paid pretty well doing security. I just hated it, and like it was always scary too because like I was on probation for a year, so like it was less than a year because I got off early, but I was supposed to be for a year, and like being in that environment, you never know. Like people don't like big guys when they're drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I was always kind of like just sitting there eating my beef and rice, just like, please God, not tonight. Please.
Leave me alone.
Luckily it was usually pretty chill at the place I worked at, but I worked at a place called Billy's before that, and that was a fucking shit show. That place was I was in a fight every freaking weekend. That was terrible. But
So once
and
you got back to work, what year was this at this point?
this was 2008, 19, yeah. Yep,
Okay.
August, end of August is when I got out.
Okay.
And then that was when I started. I pretty much like the second I got out, it was like literally nothing else in the world matters now but bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like I can't leave any impact in this world until I have the platform that I want. Like that, it was almost like I realized what I'm meant to do, which I always kind of knew, but like that was like, all right, like bro, like,
Solidified it. Yeah.
like you got a purpose here, you got to help people.
Yeah.
And I wanted, I was like, okay, it's time to get what I want and grow my platform and actually use it the right way now. And from there on, and like that relationship I was in, I was still in it. Um, that was kind of like where that flip switched of like, okay, I don't think this is working.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few months, COVID hits, all that stuff. And then yeah, I mean, just kind of it burnt its way out. And then I got off probation right prior to like 2 months too, and then like the relationship burnt itself out, and I dipped out of Michigan. I went back home to Pittsburgh. Um, we started prep, I think, in February that year for the Mr. Pittsburgh show, which was then canceled. Um, and we were in prep. We pulled back in March, and then we just kept like going and pulling back and going and pulling back all year until 2 weeks before North Americans. And the plan wasn't even to do a national show that year. We just were trying to get lean for whatever.
Mhm.
And over time, like my physique just took this certain look that like it never had before. And it was like, like we were like, okay, we got something here. Like, I don't think anybody can beat this in the country right now in Classic. So we went 7 weeks out and posed for Bill Sibilia, and he immediately was like, yeah, you're doing North Americans. He was like, you're doing North Americans, and you're going to be very hard to beat at North Americans. And to then actually the week before North Americans is when I finally got on stage. I lost. So we did bodybuilding because we didn't want to make weight yet. We did bodybuilding. I got second to a fellow named Danny, who also was qualifying for Classic in bodybuilding, right? I was madder than hell. In fact, Morgan was too. Morgan got up as we left prejudging. Morgan was like, "That was fucking embarrassing, like madder than hell." I posed like shit. He peaked me like shit. Everything that could have went wrong that day went wrong. But we qualified, whatever. The next week, we came in perfect at North Americans. I actually came from 216 pounds on Sunday morning to Tuesday at 4 o'clock for weigh-ins. I was 197.
Wow. Holy
Oh.
shit.
19 pounds. It was probably one of the scariest things I've ever done in bodybuilding. It didn't affect me though. I didn't feel it. Like I didn't hurt. It was just, I got so outrageously high, I couldn't even think straight and just sat on my couch and just suffered. Like,
Oh my gosh.
it was terrible too because my bathroom was upstairs. So
Crawling up the stairs.
I literally every 5 seconds I had to go up the stairs to piss. I was like, fuck this. But yeah, so we ended up making weight, go the way that we did it. Probably shouldn't disclose that on here.
No.
It
Okay.
was not very safe, but it was my decision. I want to make that very clear too. I've never talked shit on Morgan about this because some people are like, why would he do that? No, fuck that. Morgan said there's 2 ways to do this. I said, whatever way is gonna make us win, shut up and do it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I have a girlfriend at the time. I'm like, I don't care if I die.
You were living for bodybuilding at that point.
Yeah,
So
like, I'm here to win. Come on, let's go. So I ended up winning the overall and beating the guy who beat me in the overall. And so it was a tasty, we were both from Pittsburgh too. So it was kind of a cool storyline to both win in Pittsburgh, both turn pro in Pittsburgh, and then it was a cool storyline. But so that's where I turned pro in Classic. I won the overall at that show, and then I did Chicago Pro shortly after that. I got first call outs. I was 192 pounds at that show. Don't ask me how. That's when I switched to Nelson Jones.
yeah.
Ask me how Nelson did that. We didn't use any diuretics.
Oh,
I don't know how he did it. It was magic. It was. I mean, we sat in a sauna for a while, but like, it's what some of his favorite stories probably come from that show because we sat in a sauna for like we wanted to make 192 because we didn't actually know they height you different in every fucking show.
Yeah.
mhm.
So like I was like, let's just be safe and come in at the lightest. Like if I'm 5'7", like let's just come in there just in case. So that's what we did. We sat in the sauna for like 4 hours, 5 hours, like in and out. And the whole time I was just dancing, singing. Like he was like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "I'm just happy to be here, dude."
I love that.
Oh fuck! So I got first call outs at that show. I think seventh was where I ended up placing. I was happy with that. I didn't go in expecting to win that show. I just wanted to make some noise, and we did that. First call outs right after turning pro, nowhere near my weight cap, because we ended up confirming that yes, I could be 207.
Okay.
So I mean, I was 15 pounds plus away from my weight cap, and making first call outs. Like, well, okay, we could probably win a show soon. So we took an off season from there. I actually moved back to Michigan for a little bit. Back in the house, at the now ex-girlfriend, she started travel nursing. We both still had our names in the house, and I was like, well, I mean, do you mind if I just go back up there? Because like I hate my little shitty apartment in Pittsburgh. It's disgusting. I was like, I'd really love to have my house back for a little while. So I did that. Trained at Maximus again for a little bit, and I was kind of like the last hurrah. and then got kicked out for drawing a penis in the fogged up windows.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Just Brady things.
yep. So
So
then I
you
went to,
evolved, but not that much.
what's that? Yeah, no,
You
listen,
evolved, but not
I
that
will
much.
always still be myself. I will not change in that aspect. But maybe publicly I don't draw as many penises now because that, like, I drew, it was like, so first of all, I had done it my entire like existence at Maximus, and it always drove John the owner nuts. But I worked there and I was like, I was closer with him, so it was different. Now, like, he sees me like I'm a pro, you gotta hold yourself a certain way, and I drew a giant, like, it went window to window all the way across the gym. After he specifically told me when he looked at the windows and saw they were fogged, said, "Do not draw a penis." And I said,
Oh my gosh. I
so
just
that
picture
was,
my kids. I'm like, that's what I picture.
yeah,
A little
yeah,
boy.
yeah. It doesn't go away. It's like, yeah, it's like running around without your pants off or without your pants on.
which
Like,
Brady does all the time on Instagram.
well, that too. Yes, I do too. My pants, but I was talking like literal pants off in my house. I will 100% run around with my pants off, and it is freeing. It's like being a boy again.
Oh my gosh.
My neighbor just ran away the other day. My neighbor just ran away the other day with his pants off, I do believe. But yeah, saluted.
Anyway, reel it in. Anyway.
So you got kicked out.
So I got kicked out. That was kind of where I was like, all right, I think it's about my time's about up here. So I moved to Columbus with my best friend Mikey, lived on his couch for a little bit. Spent some time growing. That was around the time when I started talking to Carly. We started FaceTiming. So actually, she bought a training plan for me. She was not a client. I want to make that very clear. She bought a train. She knew what she was doing. She wouldn't become a client for a reason. She bought a training plan. She knows she was
Calculated.
Yes, I'm not her coach, but yeah. So she needed a deload week. So I said, yeah, let's hop on a FaceTime call. We'll talk about what we need to do here. First of all, I absolutely could have texted that, but it was like, let's hop on a FaceTime call. And surely, I don't think we even talked about lifting at all, anything about a deload week. The conversation was 6, 7, 8 hours long.
Oh my gosh.
I hung up the phone. I was like, yeah, that's the one. That's it. That was kind of, where all of that started. And then slowly but
When
surely.
did you guys start dating?
So that was when we started. That was February 2021.
Okay.
And then she was from California. She came to visit. That was in February. She came to visit in March, late March. I want to clarify real quick. I was flat fucking broke. Had no clients anymore. Lost all my clients after COVID, and I had gone up and down, but it wasn't a good year.
Yeah.
So barely any clients. And at the time too, I really wasn't a good coach. I was at this point I was starting to get good, but business wise, especially, God knows, it was everywhere. And so I lived in the hood, in a house. This is when I moved out of Mikey's house. I've lived in another house, in the hood. There's the hood, and then there's 3 to 4 to 5 times a day when I was FaceTiming her, she would hear gunshots and be like, "Can you please get away from the window?"
Oh my gosh.
Cool, right here. They're not on my street. They're on the street over. They're not coming for me. They got gang shit going on over there.
We got gang shit going on.
They
So
really
that's
did.
the house that she came to visit you in.
So she would. There's no chance I was gonna let her come to that fucking house.
Okay.
But I was flat broke, so she was like, "Well, I'm coming to visit, so I'm getting an Airbnb." So she spent an outrageous amount of money on plane tickets from California to here, an Airbnb. This is 2021 too, right after COVID, when shit was wild. And me and my little cute little pit bull hopped in the car and we packed my bags to go hop in a car and we go over to this Airbnb. We go inside and it was a breath of fresh air and it was like family. And then my dog pissed on the couch.
Oh no.
It's
Just marking his
Love that.
territory. It's fine.
Love that.
a her.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a her. No need to mark territories, but yeah, no. She's never done that either. Does not, she never pees inside. Ever. Never to that
Aw.
point. Yeah, so
So it was it. Then you've been
yeah,
ever since.
yeah. So then the next month she moved here. We got the house we live in now. And she moved here and yeah, she's been ever since. That was like May 21. And then that's when I started prep for Norfolk. It was supposed to be Chicago Pro that year. And then we got ready like 2 weeks early. I was like 4 weeks out from Chicago. Nelson goes, "Hey, you're a little too lean. I don't know if we can hold this look. We can try, but like it'd be better if we can peak in 2 weeks."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool, let's do it. And then so we went out to Norfolk, Virginia, which is probably the worst place in the USA, and I think it needs to be blown off the map. And we go out there and stole us a win and literally left that fucking place like we stole something. Got the Olympic qualification. So that was still, I consider that still my rookie year.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I hadn't been a pro a year yet, and I only had one off season from turning pro. Like you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I did my,
Right.
but like that was my real debut.
Mm-hmm.
Then I did the Olympia, and everything again that could go wrong went wrong. My tan was bad. Um, my body wasn't responding to anything anymore. Like we had just been in prep way too long. So there was peaking was out the window. Like nothing was working. So whenever I came out, my tan was bad. I was watery. Couldn't contract my hamstrings because I was flat as well. It was shit show. So didn't do well there. That's also where I realized, okay, making a weight cap is probably 99% of the issue. Because now, mind you, I was at 192 the year before. At Norfolk, I weighed on the dot 207.
Okay. Yeah.
At the Olympia, I think we were like 204.5, but like I didn't have any more room to go. Like
Yeah.
there was no more growing. So because 192 wasn't a true 192, that was like a suck it down hard and try not to, like it was, yeah. So we then decided this is not going to be the division for me. Me and Carly decided this. Whenever I say we, and we decided to move out of Classic, go to Open. I left Nelson and went back to Morgan. I needed somebody who could be a little more hands-on in my growing process, just because I had never grown like that before.
Yeah.
I love Nelson, but Nelson was also at a trying time in his life that he needed to focus on family and stuff as well a little bit. And it was very shortly after that he had his stuff together and then turned Alexis pro and then got hurt to the Olympian stuff. So
Yeah.
his career was Gucci. But I went with Morgan, and that was when I got really fucking fat.
So you went, this was 2021 Olympia, like right after that you went into off season. And okay.
And then we had Tubby Brady who guest posed at what show was that?
Grand Rapids. That was Grand Rapids. The internet was not happy with me.
Oh no. Well, can I ask, like, how do you handle that when you know that you're like doing this for a purpose, but then you have the internet that's got all of their opinions?
I'm such a dick. Literally, I get way more peeled than everybody else in this league. Fuck off. Not everybody else. I can't say that. Not everybody else, but I have a next level conditioning factor, and we all fucking know it. So don't act like it's just gonna disappear because I had one bad off season.
I remember seeing you at that show and just walking next to you. You're like,
I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe ever. I couldn't walk anywhere. I couldn't do anything. It's absolutely terrible. I couldn't tie my shoes. I couldn't put on my socks. And because it wasn't like, I genuinely at the time thought it was a pretty half decent. So all right, let me give you the weight in numbers. So I was on stage probably 206, 207 at the Olympia. We'll say 207 just because that was my weight cap. 207, that was October, right? Beginning of October, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
By this guest posing, which was May, I was off cycle and everything. So I was for 3 weeks at this point. So beginning of May, what's that? November, December, January, February, March, April, 6 months. I was 280 pounds.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
It was.
And
It
how
wasn't
tall
pretty.
are you?
I'm 5. Depends on what time you ask. I am
On a good day.
5'8" solidly.
Run with it.
So you were a big boy.
I was, yeah. And like, I really did think I looked kind of good because, like, here's the thing: my glutes are always out from the side. I don't know why, and my glutes from the side were out. So I was like, yeah, I can't be that fat if they have glutes, right?
The
Like,
internet said otherwise.
yep, this they did. Yes, they did. Well, like, here's the thing too. Like, this is my take on guest posing. When you're asked to guest pose, it's not to come display some crazy physique.
Mhm.
It's to display you as the person, as the personality, as the um, entity that you are,
Mhm.
and where you are in your process. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
Well,
like
not only that, but like, why would you diet down to guest
right,
pose?
right,
Like,
exactly. Well, and that's the thing, or like, well, don't guest pose at all. Then, like, okay, but like again, like if a promoter's gonna ask me to guest pose, especially Mike.
yeah, like there's a reason why you were asked.
Yeah,
So fuck
I'm
off.
absolutely, yeah, and that's all he wanted to see too. He wanted to see he was like, I want to see the size. I don't care if it's fat. It's a guest posing. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
Derek was that year anyway, so everyone got to see Derek. There you go. Like, I think he was still small back then, but
Yeah.
I say he was small.
Small. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so then we tried to do a prep that year. Didn't work out. That like fall. Didn't work out. My body was not in a good place. Um, so we shut it down, grew for a little bit longer. I sat at around 265, 270 for another like 8, 9, 10 months. And then we prepped for what was supposed to be Chicago Pro. Um, about 3 weeks out of that show, about 5 weeks out of that show, I started reaching out to other people. I'll be very honest about it. I'm not even going to sit here and lie about it. Morgan probably knows at this point. It was no shade to Morgan. I just was not, I looked like dog shit, and it didn't feel like he was on top of it. Didn't feel like there was any sense of urgency about it. He's a good coach, and I will give him all the credit in the world anytime anybody asks me. He's knowledgeable, but at this time, he wasn't taking care of what I needed done. And I'm a fucking pro. I'm not coming out here to get first call outs, like, you know what I mean? Or like, or second call outs rather. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just not who I am. I'm not going to bring a full look that's not me.
Right.
My trademark is conditioning and lines and separation. I'm not going to try to come big. I'm not going to beat 300-pound guys at 240 pounds. Trying to,
Right.
you know?
No, I mean, you got to do what's best for you, you know?
Right. So then 5 weeks out, I started reaching out to other people, talking to Nelson again, talked to Dylan, talked to AJ Sims. All of them kind of had the same consensus of like, dude, your metabolism looks dog shit. Like, you should not be this like inflamed and like there's something not right.
Yeah.
So I go to Dylan. Dylan and I had to do extreme measures, no carbs for weeks, 2 hours of cardio a day, extreme gut protocol.
Yeah.
We had to, like, A1C was the only priority that we had. Muscle wasting at this point was fuck it. We took test out entirely. Like, we didn't even have test shown anymore. Like, we were like,
Ugh.
anything that could convert at this point, get it out, and everything that can kill estrogen, put it in.
Mm.
So Masteron was like, I think I don't remember what we ran it at, but it was fucking high. at least the highest I'd ever ran at that time. Trend wasn't crazy high, but we bumped it up pretty good because we took the test out. Yeah, like anything we could do to get fucking, we were just really trying to rip out all this water, and like we didn't know where it was coming from. But at the time, we just didn't care. My acne was really bad too, so we were just like, if it's estrogen related, it's got to go. Which is not the healthiest way to do things.
Right.
But what we had to do is what we had to do. We did push the show back to Tampa. Didn't need to do that. We ended up being ready in 3 weeks, which was mind blowing. I went from
Yeah, that's
240 to
crazy.
I was 240 with 245 ish. Whenever I was with Morgan, I ended up ripping down to 220 when I was on stage at Tampa. But we were like 225 the week of Chicago. So like, yeah, I mean, it was crazy, but I was peeled. We were ready. We did Tampa, and I got first call outs. I got my shots next to Hunter. If you don't know, Hunter and I are good friends, so I like to mess with him. All I wanted to do was have my back pictures next to his, and he knew it. He damn well knew it. The second they put me next to him, he goes, "Get your back pictures." I'm like, yep. But it was really nice though too having him there, because he is somebody I've looked up to since pretty much day one. I met him at Chicago Pro. It was in Atlanta, 2020, my pro debut. I don't even remember how it ended up happening. Oh, because I knew Liv for a while, and I think they had just started talking. I think it was still a secret. It might be a secret still. I don't know, but
We'll crop that out.
That's where I met him. And then we trained like the next day, and I realized like, oh, this dude's like, not that I had a bad opinion on him, but like I was like, oh, he's a good old boy, like through and through, he's a good old boy. And that's still absolutely true. He's one of the best human beings I've ever met.
That's awesome.
But to have him next to me at that show, because then whenever we first got called out for first call outs, he looked at me, he dapped me up, and he goes, "I told you belong here."
Aww.
And because like the whole time before that, I was like in my head, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not open, because then they raised my cap that week. They raised what my cap would have been in classic from 207 to 212. I was 218.
Oh, that was right around then that they raised it.
And I was 218 before we ate. So like
Oh my
the
God.
day before weigh-ins, I could have ripped down 6 more pounds and went and done classic, and probably frankly would have won and went back to the Olympia. And I looked at Dylan, I said, "Dylan," and Dylan goes, "Where's your future?"
Focus there. Yep.
Yeah.
Forwards, not backwards.
And that was, yeah. So whenever he said that, this is where you belong. And then whenever I got off stage, that's whenever he goes, "Now do you know you belong?" I was like, yeah, I do,
I love that.
He's, so that was a big moment for me. I know it was small and goofy. He probably doesn't even remember it, but it was big for me because it was, like he's Hunter Labrada, he doesn't gotta go out of his way for anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he's kind of larger than life and has been even before he was Hunter Labrada. You know what I mean? Just off his last name. So, and his entire family is just absolutely amazing. I love every one of them. But
so that was what, 2022?
That was last year.
That was last year. That's right.
In beginning of August.
Okay. Yeah. And so you went and do another off season after that, put on some more size.
We didn't do an off season. We rebounded for 16 weeks. We rebounded for 6 weeks, got blood work done.
Yep.
It was perfect. So we said, fuck it, let's keep going. Let's add more stuff in. So we added more stuff in and more food and all the good stuff. And then 12 weeks, checked again. Beautiful, perfect. Keep going. So we pushed it all the way to 16 weeks, and then we did an 8-week health. The only reason we stopped the rebound was because we knew we wanted to do a show around this timeline. So we were like, okay, we gotta. Yeah, we were growing, but I never saw one day above 245. Not one.
Wild.
245 was the highest I got. We started prep. We did our health phase. We started prep sometime in the beginning of, I think it was mid-January. We got really lean first. Probably pulled down to about 230 to 235. Sat there for a while, started to eat, started to plug in gear, started to turn prep up around 12 weeks out. I think more like 16 weeks out or so. That's where I started hovering around 240 again. And I go down to like 236. I go up to like 242. Even today, I was 239.6. We haven't lost literally a pound this entire prep.
Amazing. And how far out are you?
4 weeks. Yeah.
How are you
That's
feeling?
awesome. Yeah.
I'm getting a little tired, but luckily mid 45 keeps me energized.
Plug there.
No,
No,
but
and
for real
like,
though, I don't know if you guys have ever tried kratom. But it has been life-changing in prep.
yeah,
It
it's
is because it's such a cleaner energy than like coffee or caffeine. It's so much more like sustainable and like it's just, everything about it is just overall better. There's no crash. Like the energy literally lasts all day. Like it's been the biggest game changer.
that's
Um,
awesome.
it makes cardio fly by. Like I can't really describe it. Like you really gotta. If you guys haven't ever tried it, I do highly recommend. Hit me up. I'll get a box. I'll get Carly to send a little box out
All
too.
right. All right.
But
No, but like I was even just, I told you when I saw you at Detroit, I was like, dude, like you got fucking huge since last time I saw you. Like,
I think upper body wise, I mean, I definitely see a difference. Like I looked at pictures the other day from Tampa, and I was like, okay, I definitely grew up top as well. But like
mhm.
my legs are like, I don't even. I was just saying today, I was watching a video of me of my leg press set today. And like after the leg press set, like I just plopped down and like angeled into the leg press. And I'm like looking at, I'm like, that doesn't even look like me. Like my legs look like anybody else in open, but that's not me. I was like, fuck, I got legs. Cool.
Because you belong there.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm
It's
excited.
work.
I just feel very good 4 weeks out.
Good.
I'm very confident going into this. I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna win, but I think it's gonna be very difficult to beat me. If size is a factor, that's pretty much the only thing where I can see being an issue. But outside of that,
And you've already made noise with being smaller. So,
yeah. So I'm very excited. And the nice thing is too is Tonio is smaller than me.
yeah.
Stand me next to Tonio, who's doing cow, and just let the cards fall where they're gonna fall.
Exactly.
Listen, Tony, I respect Tonio, but Tonio cannot get peeled like me. And he fucking and I will let the cards fall from there.
No, love it. Love it. Anything else you want to add?
I mean, no.
No, this was good. It was good to see the whole transformation because I never had heard your story. So it's cool to see, and I think that you have a lot more coming, and we'll
Oh,
all
yeah.
be watching.
I really
We all
appreciate
know
it.
that. We all know that. No, Brady, thank you so much for coming on. I know that we've been trying to plan this for a while and
Hi
life
guys.
happened and it's okay, but I'm glad that we were finally able to link up and get you on here because I've definitely wanted to have your story out there and just kind of pick your brain on all of it. So we really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you guys. I do want to say one more thing though. I did want to go back and touch on
Yeah.
just the family of Geraldine, the woman who passed away. Um, Doubtful that they would ever listen to this, but in the off chance they ever do, I do hope that they can see that I'm a different human and that they can understand that I'm still very apologetic and sorry, and that I am always trying to live for her. So
Yeah. And just even knowing you as a person, like Brady, you and I have had a lot of heart to hearts and like we have we have.
yeah,
And like I know, you are such a genuine person and you have that introspectiveness and you are very aware, you're a very self-aware person and I know that in your heart of hearts, like you are such a good human being, and that's why I'm very, very grateful to know you and to call you a friend. So
I appreciate that. And absolutely likewise. You're an amazing human being. You've changed my life many a times.
I appreciate it. But all right, that is all. Brady, where can we find you on social media? Oh, he's gonna go get his puppy. There she is.
There she is.
I heard her sneak behind me. I was like,
Plug your social media, anything else you want, and we'll wrap
yeah,
here.
follow my Instagram, TikTok. I think they're both at IFBB _Brady King.
And we'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much for coming on, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode.
Thank you.